Welcome to ETDs. Understand your options before clicking Submit. This is video number 5, Copyright, Using the Works of Others. As an academic work, it is highly likely that your thesis or dissertation includes material created and copyrighted by others, such as quotations, images, data, tables, or graphs. While there are unlikely to be any copyright concerns when these materials are shared only with your committee, after you submit your work to the graduate school and it becomes freely available to anyone with internet access, you must consider whether you are infringing any copyrights by making these third-party works freely available. Both the Digital Georgetown Release Form and the ProQuest Submission Form require you to certify that you have obtained any necessary permissions. To better understand your rights and responsibilities, an overview of the basic principles of copyright law may be helpful. First, the creator of an original work owns the copyright in that work as soon as it is fixed in a tangible form. Second, the copyright owner has the exclusive right to copy and distribute the work. Third, there are some exceptions to those exclusive rights. There are 4 important exceptions to the general rule that only copyright owners may make copies of their work. If one of these exceptions applies, then you may use the third-party copyrighted work in your thesis or dissertation without permission from the copyright owner. First, materials in the public domain are not protected by copyright law and therefore may be used freely. Public domain has a defined meaning under copyright law and does not mean materials publicly available on the Internet. While there are several ways that a work may enter the public domain, the most likely is that copyright protection has expired. For 2018, this means that anything published before 1923 can be used freely. Starting in 2019, on January 1st of each year, another year of published works will enter the public domain. Read more about the public domain on our public domain webpage. Second, some materials have a Creative Commons or other open license that allows materials to be reused with few or no restrictions. For materials found online, check the website's terms and conditions to see whether the work may be used for non-commercial educational purposes. Third, fair use permits the use of limited portions of a third-party work in a new work without permission or license fees. Absent unusual circumstances, properly cited direct quotations in your work will qualify as a fair use. For the use of other works, you will need to analyze the 4 fair use factors to determine whether your use is fair. The purpose and character of your use. Using materials in a non-commercial environment and for a non-profit educational purpose, such as criticism and commentary, is generally favored under fair use analysis. The nature of the copyrighted work. Using material from primarily factual works is more likely to be considered fair use than using materials from highly creative works, such as poems, films based on fictional stories, novels, and music. The amount and substantiality of the portion used. There is no legal formula or rule to determine what percentage or amount of a copyrighted work you can use under the fair use doctrine. Using small portions from a copyrighted work is more likely to be considered fair use than using a larger portion of the work. The effect of the use on the potential market for or value of the copyrighted work. If challenged, a court would have to evaluate if and how your use affects the potential market for the copyrighted work. Fair use determinations are subjective, fact-specific, and not completely risk-free, since users and rights holders may disagree on whether a potential use is fair. To learn more about fair use, visit our fair use pages or contact the Director of Copyright and Scholarly Communication. Finally, you can request permission from copyright holders to include their works in your thesis or dissertation. To learn more about requesting permission, visit our permissions page. If none of these 4 exceptions apply for any of the third-party material in your work, you can remove that material from your work before submitting it to the graduate school through the ProQuest submission portal. You should note where any material in your thesis or dissertation was redacted and describe what information has been removed. If you have questions, please contact the Director of Copyright and Scholarly Communication.